we've come to one of Wordsworth's favourite places, to Rydal, and he says it's not a good idea to go on the main road there. You won't see it to an advantage. Instead, go along the foot road. So that's what we're going to do. We can see why Wordsworth liked this little lake and why it is so much better to come to it on foot, because all of a sudden it starts to open out. It's not very big, but it's just really very picturesque, and so we're appreciating it. But of course Wordsworth didn't have to contend with the constant noise of the cars. Never mind. Wordsworth was all for keeping to native plants and trees, and one tree he didn't like was the larch, which could grow quickly, but he said it was so the spindly trunk and twigs. They didn't have boughs like our oak trees, for example, and so he was rather scathing about the use of larch, and what he would have thought about all the imported plants like rhododendrons, I don't know. We're looking across to the White House, Nab House, and there was a beautiful innkeeper's daughter that lived there, and I think it was Southey who fell in love with her and married her, and she died rather young too. But we're looking at it now across the lake. I'll go pecking my toes. We've just had lunch on a bench down by the lake with a wonderful view, but boy was it a cold wind. Now we're climbing up, and this stone wall is fantastic, and it's also sheltering us, and the constant sound of the Canada geese in the background and the cars, but otherwise it's beautiful. We always like the dry stone walls. They just merge into the landscape. In some parts they're absolutely covered with moss, always with lichen too. But I was just thinking, where did they get all these stones from to build them like this? I mean, I know stones are here, but they're not all just like that. So they must have had to be transported somehow, and then you'd have to select the right size and shape. And they're going way up into the fells as well, and I wonder how many people were involved doing it. And the stones with the big slab stones with a hole in the middle, we saw them in the Peak District when we were there, and I know in other parts of the country too, but they're very ancient boundary marks. We're dropping down to the head of the lake now, and we're on the mossy side of the wall. The mosses and lichens are never so fresh and flourishing as in winter, if it be not a season of frost, and their minute beauties prodigally adorn the foreground. Wherever we turn, we find these productions of nature, to which winter is rather favourable than unkindly, scattered over the walls, banks of earth, rocks and stones, and upon the trunks of trees, with the intermixture of several species of small fern, now green and fresh, and to the observing passenger their forms and colours are a source of inexhaustible admiration. Hello. We've come to the end of our walk around Rydal Water, and this is where Grasmere Lake flows into Rydal Water. So Arthur Mee writes, "It is Rydal Mount itself that is the precious spot in this small place, not for what Wordsworth wrote there, but because he died there. He lived at the Mount while his fame increased and honours showered upon him. From this hillside house he set out to tramp across the mountains, to come up to London town, to make a tour of the continent, and here it was that in the end his strength began to fail. Nothing could disturb the serenity of his spirit, and the evening of his life at Rydal Mount was as calm and radiant as the sunsets he had loved. He was at the church in the spring of 1850, and as he walked home for the last time, he felt the fresh glory of the spring and saw the little celandine making a new wonder in the woods. A few more days, and he saw a greater wonder still, for though they laid him in a corner of Grasmere churchyard, his spirit was dwelling in the light of setting suns, freed on April the 23rd, the day also of Shakespeare's passing." Now we're in the little church, St Mary's Church, where William Wordsworth worshipped, just a few yards from his home, in a beautiful spot. We're in Dorans Field here, also known as the Rash Field, because of the rushes that once grew in it, and it was planted by Wordsworth and given to his daughter Dora. In spring it is golden with wild daffodils, which are just coming, but they're going to be a few more weeks by the look of it. Before his death at Rydal in 1935, Mr. Gordon Wordsworth, the poet's grandson, gave the field to the nation.